Tonight, Friday Night SmackDown emanates once again from the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, inside the WWE Thunderdome. We have a stacked show. It's the season premiere of Friday Night SmackDown on Fox. They're calling it the season premiere. Of course, it's the post-draft episode. It's the episode in which people say farewell, easy for me to say, from SmackDown that go into Raw. And we say hello to the people that are coming over from Raw to SmackDown. One such name, I guess... was he ever drafted anywhere? I don't think he even was. I'm not sure. Is Lars Sullivan? Yes, Lars Sullivan versus Jeff Hardy. That is the match we're going to be talking about in this video. A match announced for tonight's show. Of course, Monday night on Raw, you had Jeff Hardy. Oh, this actually comes from last week. This comes from last week on Friday Night SmackDown when Jeff Hardy teamed up with Matt Riddle. And then after the match, you had Lars Sullivan make his return to SmackDown. It's crazy to me that that was 7 days ago because so much happens. So much happens in pro wrestling in 7 days. That's why I'm getting confused between Monday's episode of Raw and then SmackDown tonight and then last week's episode of SmackDown. Just so much happens in 7 days. It's so hard to keep up. It's so hard to keep up. Lars Sullivan, specifically Lars Sullivan. Okay, so he made his return last Friday on SmackDown, and I think, to be honest, it caught a lot of people off guard, myself included. I really did think, this is genuinely the honest truth, I genuinely did think that Lars Sullivan, I thought was done. I did think was done. I thought, you know what, obviously he was out of an injury. That's what happened. He was out of an injury in 2019, I believe it was 2019, and then subsequently everything exploded. Everything exploded when it came to Lars Sullivan. Whether it was on the bodybuilding forums, all of those past comments that were racist, homophobic, misogynistic, just downright disgusting. Just disgusting. And he was subsequently fined. I don't know if he was actually officially suspended. I'm assuming that he was officially suspended. I don't know the answer to that one. But he was definitely fined. I think it was $100,000. I believe he had to go to some form of like counseling or something like that, one of those awareness courses as well. But that was one facet of it, and by all accounts, WWE, I think at the time, was aware of the comments. That's as far as I've understood it. At the time, they were aware of the comments because he didn't inform them of those comments when he did sign with the company, but he did inform them of the comments subsequently afterwards and before they came out. So they did at least be able to prepare, if you can prepare for those kind of comments. He was able to, I guess, notify them of somehow, but that was just the tip of the iceberg, literally the tip of the iceberg, because even now some more comments on those forums are coming out even this week. So who knows the footprint that Lars Sullivan has left online, because after that, whilst he was on the shelf with his injury, then came out the stuff about him appearing in that adult entertainment, the same-sex adult entertainment, which again, I don't really want to go into. If you've you can see my opinions on all of that sort of stuff. I did a video on it actually earlier this week. I believe I did it on Monday, speaking about Lars Sullivan and this latest thing we'll touch on in a second. But I just echo the things I said there when it comes to that part of it, is that in that part of it, when it comes to the adult stuff, is look, he didn't do anything illegal there. I think that the issue there is that he didn't notify WWE. As far as I'm aware, WWE weren't aware of that situation then. And again, it comes down to you didn't inform them of what you've done in your past. And I think that's the biggest issue when it comes to that part of it. Obviously, the other stuff, it's the comments, absolutely. And then over the weekend, another story broke. So he makes his return on SmackDown. And then over the weekend, another story breaks about Lars Sullivan on social media. And you find out that during this time away from WWE, when he has been on the shelf with an injury, and you would have thought that after everything that's happened when it comes to Lars Sullivan, he would have learnt his lesson. He's been suspended. I guess he's certainly been fined, and he had to undergo some counselling. You would have thought he would have learned something throughout all of this, and it appears that he hasn't. Because it then comes out that in recent months he's been harassing this Instagram user on social media, asking her for provocative pictures and doing this sort of stuff. And if you've seen the messages, they're out there. The screenshots are out there. I believe it was first and exclusively reported by Body Slam. If you want to go out there and find them, they're not hard to find. You go out and you see them, and it's just, again, it's sickening. And you wonder, and I questioned it Monday at the time, how many lives does this guy have left? How many lives does this guy have left? You have to wonder that. You have to wonder that, because if it does, this is the thing when it comes to WWE and these kind of things, it does feel like a double standard, because if that's someone else, if you're lower down the card, and I know that's just pro wrestling and this is how these things go, but if you're lower down the card, that's it. I mean, you're done. So is he that important? Is he that factored in? Is he that featured into future plans that he's bulletproof, essentially? I don't think so. I don't think he's worth that. I don't think anyone's worth that. If anyone even did the comments in the past, they're not worth that. And the argument to those comments in the past is, well, people grow, people learn, and people move on. But the issue when it comes to Lars Sullivan is that he obviously hasn't learned. He obviously hasn't learned his lesson, because if he'd learned his lesson, we wouldn't have this conversation now where in recent months he's been messaging these people on social media. And I don't want to speculate because I don't think that's fair, but who knows? Who knows how deep this goes? Who knows what else he's done? Because every time it's another controversy, I would not be stunned. I would not be stunned if this time next week we're talking about something else. I mean, who knows? Who knows when it comes to him? So I think it was WrestleVotes. They tweeted out this week that WWE is aware of the situation and he doesn't have many supporters or friends backstage at this point, in whether it's in the locker room or where it's higher up. But there's one guy who is a big supporter of him, and that guy has the ultimate say when it comes to these things. I think they're hinting that is Vince McMahon himself. So Vince McMahon's a fan. There's unless you PO him, that's it. He doesn't really care. And Vince McMahon's no stranger to controversy himself. So I think he looks at this situation going, I will blow over. But it won't. It won't. This is the thing when it comes to these things, is that in 2020, social media nowadays, these things don't blow over. They just don't. They don't blow over because people will come back to them. You look at, and I don't want to make a comparison because it's a very emotive subject, but you look at even some of the people that have been involved in the speaking out allegations, and when they've made their return to WWE TV or this kind of stuff, people are still very raw. People are still very raw when it comes to this because it's a raw and emotive subject, and you can't run away from it. You can't run away from it, and I just think that this is going to catch up. It's going to catch up eventually because, again, history, and you look at the pattern of things, it would suggest that this isn't the end of it. This isn't the end of it when it comes to Lars Sullivan. So we'll have to wait and see with that. As far as his match against Jeff Hardy tonight, look, Lars Sullivan was drafted to SmackDown. Jeff Hardy was drafted to Raw in the draft. If I'm going to make a prediction here, I'm going to probably say that Lars Sullivan is going to win. And I don't necessarily want him to win. It's funny to me because Jeff Hardy, I keep talking about this, but it's so interesting, is that back at those Performance Center shows, an internal memo of how basically talents were listed came out, and it said the top 3 babyfaces on SmackDown at the time were Braun Strowman, Jeff Hardy, Matt Riddle. All 3 have gone to Raw. It shows you how much things can change and how much that it can change so quickly. Now, I still do think they're looking at Jeff Hardy in a very, very top regard, but it does show you how much can change, especially when it comes to Braun Strowman, especially when it comes to Matt Riddle. I mean, Matt Riddle's having his issues right now too. So it shows you how much can change so quickly in the land of WWE when it comes to where you're positioned and what they think of you. Again, I think Lars Sullivan will win tonight. If you're looking at things from a traditional booking of a monster, it doesn't make sense for his first match back for the monster to do the job, unfortunately. So if you're looking at patterns of history, Lars Sullivan is going to come out tonight on top, and probably in quite dominant fashion. Now, what's the end game when it comes to Lars Sullivan? I don't know. I don't know at this point. You had Dave Meltzer in the week say it's a match against Braun Strowman they're aiming for. If all of this, when it comes to Lars Sullivan, is he's bulletproof because we need to build him up for Braun Strowman, well, what are we doing? Really? Is that it? Seriously? That's the reason you won't fire him? Is because we want to feed him to Braun? That's insane. And at this point, you can't make Lars Sullivan the world champion, can you? Can you imagine the negative PR that would come with that? You couldn't do that. You couldn't make him a champion of any kind, really. So where is the end game? What's the future opponent? You could previously say, they're building him up to face Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is a heel now. So Monster Lars Sullivan against heel Roman Reigns. I mean, maybe sometime down the line if Reigns turns babyface again, but who knows when that's going to happen. So it's just very confusing. It's very confusing when it comes to Lars Sullivan right now, and I'll be brutally honest, I don't get it. I just don't get it when it comes to what makes him so bulletproof. I don't see what the end game is for him. I don't see, apart from getting fired, I don't see what the end game is in terms of opponents, future storylines, who he's going to face on SmackDown. It just seems very, very strange to me. And it's one of those situations now, I feel, with Lars Sullivan, is that even if you're going to try and take your mind off of all of these, allegations and just the baggage, we'll call it the baggage that comes with him, is that when you're watching the show now, if you're watching his segment, it's all you can think about. And maybe that's just me, but when I'm watching his segments, his beatdowns, all I can think is just social media's going to be losing their mind. And then I go on social media and their mind has been lost. It's just what it is. It's just what it is when it comes to him now. There is so much baggage there that I just wonder, what can you do? What can you do? And I know it's not exactly the same, but it does remind me of almost the Big Cass situation. Big Cass, it felt like every other week we were getting backstage heat, backstage instant with the small person in the ring going off script, blah, blah, blah. And it felt like every week, he was involved in a feud with Daniel Bryan at the time, and he still kept winning. He still kept dominating Daniel Bryan. The feud wasn't that great as well, but he was still dominating. And then it got to a point where the heat got so much, and there was one incident too many. I think Daniel Bryan tapped him out in like 4 minutes, and then he was gone. He was released, and he hasn't been back since. And I doubt Big Cass will ever come back to WWE, unfortunately for him. So I think about that situation, and again, when it comes to Lars Sullivan, all I can think of is, when is it going to be the last straw? And I feel like that's coming soon. But as far as tonight's match goes, like I said, to me, booking-wise, I would be stunned, quite frankly, if Jeff Hardy won. Let's not say he won't. I mean, I've been wrong before. I'm only human. So who knows? But I think logic and the booking, WWE historically, says to me that I think it seems very, very likely that Lars Sullivan wins tonight in dominant fashion, because once again, Jeff Hardy's going to Raw. Lars Sullivan's staying on SmackDown. Lars Sullivan needs the win in his first match back from booking point of view, not in maybe a career point of view. So that's why I think Lars Sullivan will win in dominating fashion. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Elias gets involved as well. We saw Elias attack Jeff Hardy on Raw with the guitar. Now that Elias is back, they're throwing back to that hit and run storyline, which was a terrible storyline anyway that I'm trying to forget about. So why on earth they would want to remind you of terrible writing and terrible segments, I don't know, and terrible logic. That someone framed Jeff Hardy and legitimately ran over Elias, and that was back in June, and they haven't caught that person. All they know is he has red hair. And I'm guessing they're trying to say that it wasn't Sheamus either. I don't know. Again, I don't know. You can try and find logic there. There isn't any. So I don't know. But Elias was previously a member of the SmackDown roster, so I guess he does have a reason to be there tonight. So perhaps that's a reason why he could get involved. So perhaps Elias gets involved. But again, it's all about Lars Sullivan in this, and I don't get it. I don't get it. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Jeff Hardy versus Lars Sullivan tonight? What's your prediction? What are your thoughts on Lars Sullivan? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about SmackDown. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button as well. Really just help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now. Or was it that side? You never know. I'm not very good at pointing to these things. Either way, we're about 15 subscribers away from 1,000. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe as we aim for that magic 1,000 number. So if you have subscribed already, just know that I really do appreciate it. But we hopefully will get to that 1,000 subscriber mark soon. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.